Welcome to Texas Rye Whiskey Studies for my National Rye Tournament, episode 24, for tournament match number 10, coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas, on Wednesday, July 29th, 2026, where it is currently 97 degrees. What I'm doing with this tournament is sampling and reviewing rye whiskeys one at a time, and then after every second whiskey, I place them in a head-to-head match to see which one I like the best. This is the under 90 proof bracket. The rules. I judge these whiskeys on their history, bottle, label, marketing, composition, appearance, nose, taste, mouthfeel, burn, and finish, and of course, availability and flexibility. But the deciding factor is, if I was offered these two whiskeys 5 nights in a row, but I could only choose one, which one would I choose 3 out of the 5 nights? It's all about drinkability. In case of a tie, that price, value, and availability line determines the winner. Just for fun, I drink these out of blacked out Glencairn glasses to see if I can figure out which is which. And also, though, sometimes the color of a whiskey gives me a clue about which whiskey it is. And so I want to be totally fair and go strictly off of drinkability, not visual, because sometimes I form an emotional attachment to a whiskey. All right, so let's look at our contestants tonight. We've got Powers Irish Rye and 10th Mountain Rye Whiskey coming out of Vail, Colorado. Now, let's look at the history here. 10th Mountain Rye was released in 2019. Powers Rye released in 2023. Now, Powers whiskey goes all the way back to 1791 in Dublin, so they say. But 10th Mountain links its name and place of origin to the 10th Mountain Division of World War II, formed around Vail, Colorado. And of course, the present 10th Mountain Division is at Fort Drum, New York. And the members of the 10th Mountain Division fought in Italy during the Second World War, and then during the War on Terror, the 10th Mountain Division fought in Afghanistan, but also earlier than that in Mogadishu in 1993. So for me, the 10th Mountain, being an Army vet myself, this has more relevant history for me, even though this one kind of goes back further as far as the company goes. But also then, as far as the addition of the whiskey, this one's a little bit older than this one. Bottle, label, and marketing. Powers is a major player in the world of whiskey, and their rye made a bit of a splash when it came out 3 years ago, whereas 10th Mountain is an obscure craft distillery in Vail, Colorado, that I had to actually hunt down. But once I did that, well, then I started getting advertisements for 10th Mountain, but usually for their bourbon, which is darn good. So I'm not a big fan of either bottle, actually. I got the tall, skinny one here, and I got the short, squatty one here that looks kind of like a fire hydrant or something. I'm not sure what that is. So going off the labels, though, Powers has got an attractive, bold label. 10th Mountain Rye has got a soldier with skis, indicating the winter mountain troops from World War II that used skis and snowshoes and whatnot. So for bottle, label, and marketing, the marketing goes to Powers, but bottle's a tie. Label's going to go with 10th Mountain, so I'm going to side with 10th Mountain for the win on bottle, label, and marketing. Appearance of these whiskeys. Since I'm using blacked out glasses, we can't do that. But here in the bottle, I think you can see that the 10th Mountain is a darker color whiskey. And I aesthetically prefer darker whiskeys. So it's only slightly darker. I mean, that's not a whole lot of difference there. But so I'm going to go with 10th Mountain for the win on appearance. Composition. Powers has a 100% rye mash bill on the label. And 10th Mountain does have a mash bill on their website, and that reads mash bill for 10th Mountain. There it is. Okay, they've got 69% rye, 27% corn, 4% malted barley. On the bottle, it says it's aged for 2 years. And the bottle also says aged at 8,150 feet elevation. And so that's pretty interesting. I like it when something unique shows up on a composition for a whiskey. And elevation makes a difference. Climate makes a difference. If you're on the seashore and you're, an Islay Scotch, that makes a difference. If you're a mountain whiskey, it makes a difference. So I'm going to side with 10th Mountain for composition because I really do like that elevation. All right, flexibility, versatility. Both of these whiskeys are great and neat. I've made cocktails with both, and they're both very good. So I'm going to say that's a tie for flexibility, versatility. Price, value, and availability. Here's where it gets difficult. Powers, I paid about $38 for here in Fort Worth. However, this is no longer available at the big three stores, Goody Goody, Specs, Total Wine. I can't find it anywhere. When I bought this a couple of years ago, I bought it at a smaller store, Liquor King. 10th Mountain is not available in stores. You have to order this online. It may be available in Colorado. I'm not sure, but you really do have to get this at the distillery or order it from the distillery. And then you got to pay the $20 shipping fee, and it's already about $50 on the website. So you're looking at just over $70 for this versus $38 for this. Neither's got great versatility. So I'm going to give the advantage to Powers, though, because I think it is going to be available in some stores depending on your area. All right, now let's get to the actual whiskeys. I have mixed these up in blacked out glasses. Powers is going to be in glass number 1, and 10th Mountain is in glass number 2. You'll see those numbers on the bottom of the glasses. I'm going to start by smelling. I'm going to go left to right to nose these. Right away, that's a good rye flavor. No doubt what you're getting there. Maybe some fruit. A little bit of sweetness, but apples, pears, maybe. That's a very pleasant nose. Spicy, minty, fruity. The one on the right, less of a nose, but more piney. Now this one I'm getting minty, pine. So I can tell both are ryes. But that first one I think is going to win the nose. And would I hazard a guess about which is which just from the nose? I don't think so. No, can't tell. All right, so I'm going to start sipping with the weaker nose. That's generally what I do. Now, both of these are 86 proof. So that's, there's not going to be any real proof advantage going on here. These are both going to be about the same proof. And probably age-wise, the Powers is going to have a little bit of age. However, that elevation on 10th Mountain you know, that's going to make a difference. So here's the one on the right. This one's got much more of the pine needles. Soft and gentle. The rye spice doesn't slap you in the face at all. It's there. It's pretty true to the nose. Get some rye spice, some pine needles, minty. It's got a decent mouthfeel. Just a very low level burn, focused in the mouth. The pine needles, the rye spice does linger a while on the finish. So all in all, that's a very pleasant rye whiskey. All right, let me cleanse my palate just a bit. All right, let's go to the one on the left now. This one had the better nose. A little bit bolder flavors. Sweet, yeah, I'm getting a little bit of fruit. Rye spice is there, but this one seems more fruity and less pine needles. Mouthfeel, about the same as the other one. Burn, maybe a touch less. Finish, the rye spice lingers. Fruitiness lingers. Just a mild sweetness. Neither of these is overly sweet, which is one reason I like rye. Wow, now to determine which one I like the best. This is going to be hard. I'll try the one on the right again. That one's flavors are a little bit deeper, richer, not as fruity. The one on the left, it's a little bit brighter, bolder in some ways. This is going to be very difficult. There are differences. I can definitely tell them apart. Now, which is which? I'm thinking the one on the left is glass number 1, Powers, and the one on the right is glass number 2, 10th Mountain. Which one do I like the best? I can just tell you that emotionally I'm attached to the 10th Mountain more so than the Powers. So, you know, try not to let that influence me. But going strictly off of flavor, this is going to be very difficult. I think the one on the right's got the corn in it. One on the left, I think it's that 100% rye. I'm leaning towards the one on the left being my favorite. And it had the better nose. I think the one on the right's got a little bit more of a burn, which I like. but the flavors are more bold with the one on the left. So I'm gonna have to say the one on the left wins on flavor, but the one on the right has got the mouthfeel burning finish. So I'm going to choose the left, and I think it's going to be glass number 1. And it is. All right, so the Powers Irish Rye is the winner. And I did guess which is which properly. And my batting percentage there is just over 50%, I think. So, you know, this is harder for me than it would appear. All right, do I dare do a cocktail? Yes, I think I will, because that fruitiness in the Powers made for some excellent cocktails with a little surprise in there. So let me put this on hold and I'll be right back. And I'm back with the same kind of old-fashioned that I made with Powers Irish Rye the last couple of times that I've tried this. Except I did make a difference. I am running low on Angostura bitters, and apparently there's a shortage. 2 of my regular liquor stores, Goody Goody and Specs, have been out of Angostura for a long time, several months, okay? I've inquired and they've said there's supply issues. Well, that's really odd. And so I've used Peychaud bitters instead of Angostura. And I'm not sure what difference that's going to make. Now, if you look in here, you will see green apples. That's, you know, I was getting green apples in the Powers Irish Rye. And so one of the things I've learned about making cocktails is reinforce the flavors that are inherent to the whiskey. Add something to it that brings those out. Or if you don't like those flavors, add something that hides them, right? And so I'm getting apple notes in this Irish Rye. So why not put some green apples in there? And I muddled them, okay? I mushed them up a little bit. So, and then just a little three dashes of simple syrup, and then 3 dashes of the Peychaud bitters. So here we go. Let's see what we do. Last time it was Angostura bitters. Let's see how big of a difference this makes. Okay. That is still really good. I'm going to say, I think I would have to do a side by side, but I think I prefer the Angostura bitters in here. This is still really good. The apple really does make this. Absolutely. So yeah, Powers Irish Rye in an old fashioned with some muddled green apples. Absolutely works. All right, so my wife tried this cocktail the other day when I made it, and she liked it. And she's not a whiskey girl, but she'll enjoy sipping some a little bit here. And she really liked this one. So there you go. We have a winner. It advances in the tournament to the second round. All right, what is next up? Well, not on this channel. This is the Texas Rye Whiskey Studies channel. But coming up next is on American Catechism or Stab the Dragon Productions. We've got a state birthday coming up, Colorado. So we're going to look at Stranahan's Original Single Malt, American Single Malt, because Colorado, there's the sign there, has their state birthday this weekend. So I hope to do something with the state birthday of Colorado and Stranahan's. That's coming up next. All right, this is Texas Rye Whiskey Studies out here.